So, writing is a great thing. I love doing it. If you're watching this video, presumably you also love doing it. Sometimes it's really easy to write, but not always. Sometimes writing gets blocked, essentially, and that's what I'm here to talk to you about today. This is the 9th episode of Indie Opinions, and I'm going to be talking to you about how to overcome writer's block, / how to write when you think you can't. Now, there are a lot of different reasons behind why you might get writer's block, so I'm just going to go over a few of the main reasons in some small detail, and then go from there. So the main reasons you might get writer's block, and one of the main reasons that I can think of, is you just get bored of the story. If this is the case, then it might be that you just have been writing it for too long, and that you're just sick of it. This has happened to me a few times, especially when I was writing my anthology series, that you just end up getting bored by the overall premise or by the story in general, and you just don't want to write anymore. The best way that I've found to deal with this specific type of writing issue is just to keep writing. Just write through the boredom is what I would say to do, because there are differing opinions on this. But I've always found that if you keep writing, then everything will work out. The second reason, that's also a very common reason, is that you just have a fear that your writing isn't good enough, or that you're just not good enough to write this story at your current level. I felt this before, I'm sure a lot of you have, where you feel like you're not good enough to write the story you want to write. And the best thing I could say for this one is just keep writing it as well, to be honest. Who knows, maybe you're just having doubts. Maybe when you read it back, you might actually find that you really love what you did. I know I have a few times. And it's a very, very different, and writing such a different art form than other ones, that you can just, that if you really hate what you did, you can just rewrite it. That's part of the writing process. Which is what you got to remember, is that if it's a rough draft, then maybe it doesn't need to be perfect. Maybe it can, in fact, maybe if it's a rough draft, maybe it can look really shit. And maybe you should just write another 2, 3, 4, however many you think drafts until you get it right. But in terms of general writer's block, my own general advice would be to just keep writing. Set a consistent day every day, or as many days as possible, to write, and stick to it. Even if you don't want to, especially if you don't want to. Because when you don't, a lot of the time when I've found that on the days that I really don't want to write, I actually write my best. And that's just my opinion. There are many differing opinions out there. Speaking of, I'm going to go to the writing community on Twitter now, because I asked them what they do when they experience writer's block. And I've been given a few different opinions on the subject, which I'm going to read to you now. So at Dorothy Windsor says that she blogged about this last week. I think we're all just a little distracted right now, and it's extra hard to write. And her post is about the stuff that she does to get around the block. And it depends on the source of the block: fear, boredom, or unarticulated problems. But she touches on what I've said. Like for fear, she tells herself that if she really doesn't want people to read it, then she doesn't have to, and that's a really good way of looking at it. And in terms of boredom, she adds in little details that she might not necessarily publish in her story. I will have the blog post in the description, so you can check it out. At Lottie the blog says, as you know, not very well. I try to find something that I can do towards the project, though that doesn't involve actually writing if I'm really stuck. I'm a big fan of making chapter plans, mood boards. I'll also free write in my notebook to get me back into the swing of things. So yeah, a lot of the time with writer's block, it might be that you didn't plan far enough ahead, or you don't think that you planned far enough ahead. In which case, it is perfectly fine, and I'd say a good thing to just go back to the planning stage and just plan out other things that are going to happen in the story to keep it fresh. At eponymous name says, I think about having ditch diggers block, and then I write instead of digging a ditch. So yeah, a lot of the time, getting writer's block can feel like you're digging a ditch for yourself, but eventually, sometimes all you need is time. At the Tammy Joe says, I reread what I last wrote on a piece, and usually that shakes me up so I can write more. Yeah, this is a good way of reminding yourself of what this story is actually about, and then from there you can actually write what you want to write that happens next. So that was just my opinion on how to deal with writer's block and a few other writers' opinions. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Right on.